Behind the bright lights and the thunderous cheers of millions, WWE superstars once stood as living symbols of strength, muscle, and unbreakable will. Yet when the curtain falls and their in-ring careers end, not everyone manages to keep the physique that once defined them. Time, injuries, and post-retirement lifestyles have transformed many legends into unrecognizable versions of their former selves. They were once fearless warriors inside the ring, but in real life, maintaining their bodies became another battle, one just as brutal as any they fought before. Today, let's uncover the WWE wrestlers who lost their once godlike physiques after the spotlight faded. Let's get started. Wrestling Sphere, go! 1. Psycho Sid. Topping this list is none other than Psycho Sid, the infamous monster of the 1990s. With his menacing glare, massive physique, and signature curly blonde hair, Sid always struck a strange balance between fear and fascination. He was known for his eccentric promo style, calm and composed one moment, then suddenly screaming like a man possessed. That sheer unpredictability made every Sid appearance feel like a storm about to break loose. Sid embodied the image of a cold, ruthless villain long before anti-heroes like Stone Cold Steve Austin took over. Dressed in all black, with bulging muscles and an intense presence, he looked like the very definition of raw power. Fans genuinely believed that no one could ever topple the master and ruler of the world, until tragedy struck. In 2001, during a match, Sid attempted a high-risk move, a big boot from the top rope. It was a dangerous choice for someone with his size, and unfortunately, it ended in disaster. He landed awkwardly, suffering a gruesome leg break that became one of the most shocking moments in WWE history. That horrific injury forced Sid out of the ring for good, with only a few sporadic returns before officially retiring in 2017. As years passed, the once towering mountain of muscle gradually faded from the spotlight. His trademark blonde hair was trimmed short, and the fierce expression that once terrified opponents softened with age. His body, once sculpted to perfection, gave way to a more relaxed, lived-in look. Yet in 2012, fans were stunned once again. At 51 years old, Sid made an unexpected comeback. Not in wrestling, but on a bodybuilding stage. To everyone's amazement, he stepped out looking absolutely shredded, lean, muscular, and competition-ready, standing toe-to-toe with athletes decades younger. Though his return to bodybuilding was brief, it proved one thing. Psycho Sid never truly lost his drive to conquer. Time may have changed his body, but not his spirit. The fire of the world's ruler still burned within him, fierce, proud, and unbreakable, just like in his golden days. 2. Mark Henry. Mark Henry was once the embodiment of absolute power in WWE, a true giant whose strength alone could make anyone hesitate before stepping into the ring with him. Nicknamed the world's strongest man, Henry wasn't just another wrestler. He was living proof of the limits the human body could reach. With his rock-solid physique, massive frame, and stern expression, he could flatten opponents with a single slam or overpower them with his signature feats of raw strength. Throughout his career, Henry was known for his stoic, intimidating presence, a silent powerhouse whose every step carried weight. The moment his entrance theme hit, fans knew the arena was about to shake. He had many memorable moments, especially during his reign as World Heavyweight Champion, where he proved that pure power could still triumph over agility or technical finesse. But time, as always, remains undefeated. After stepping away from the ring, Mark Henry gradually embraced a more relaxed lifestyle. Gone were the grueling workouts and the constant pressure to maintain his iron physique. He allowed himself to rest, to live a normal life after decades of punishing his body in the squared circle. Naturally, his once titanic frame softened over time. The bulging muscles gave way to a gentler form as his body finally took a well-earned break. Even though he no longer looks as imposing as he did in his prime, Henry still carries himself with calm confidence, warmth, and the quiet dignity of a true legend. He continues to appear at events, mentor younger talent, and is universally respected as a beloved veteran of the sport. Mark Henry may have lost some of the physical edge that earned him the title World's Strongest Man, but he still holds onto it in a different way, not through brute force, but through perseverance, humility, and pride. He remains a timeless symbol of strength, both in body and in spirit, forever etched in WWE history. 3. Batista. Batista, or as fans around the world know him, the Animal, was the embodiment of power and aggression in WWE throughout the 2000s. Standing 6 feet 4 inches tall with a massive muscular frame, He commanded attention the moment his entrance theme hit. Every appearance felt like an event. Batista represented dominance, a warrior who couldn't be stopped. Over his illustrious career, he became a 6-time world champion, held 4 tag team titles, and won 2 Royal Rumble matches in 2005 and 2014, accomplishments that cemented him as one of WWE's most decorated stars. Yet after leaving WWE in 2010, Batista took a completely different path, stepping into the unpredictable world of Hollywood. Much like his early wrestling days, the transition wasn't easy. He had to prove he was more than just a muscle-bound brawler, that he could truly act, move audiences, and bring real emotion to the screen. That breakthrough came in 2014 when Batista took on the role of Drax the Destroyer in Guardians of the Galaxy. The film's success catapulted him into global fame, but it also made him confront a new challenge. He didn't want to be forever defined as just another tough guy character. From that realization, Batista began a personal transformation, not just as an actor, but as a person. He adopted a vegan lifestyle, shifted to more functional and balanced training, and focused on maintaining a physique that fit his evolving identity rather than sheer bulk. When Batista appeared at a film premiere in Toronto, fans were stunned. The massive frame and oversized muscles were gone, replaced by a leaner, more athletic build. From weighing over 280 pounds, and even reaching 370 at one point, he had trimmed down to about 240 pounds. In an interview, Batista admitted this transformation made him feel healthier and freer than ever before. Though his body no longer carries the same raw intensity it did during his WWE years, the essence of the animal still remains, just in a different form. His strength is no longer measured by muscle mass, but by confidence, discipline, and the unwavering determination to take control of his own life. 4. Sunny. In the late 1990s, few women in the wrestling world could match the fame and influence of Tammy "Sunny" H. With her radiant blonde hair, dazzling smile, and confident, magnetic presence, Sunny captivated millions every time she appeared. She didn't need to wrestle to stand out. One look, one smile, and the entire WWE arena would erupt. According to WWE.com, there was a time when she was the most downloaded woman on America Online, a clear testament to her popularity during the early days of the internet. Although Sunny lacked in-ring ability, she more than made up for it with charisma and stage presence. She was WWE's golden girl of that era, the perfect mix of allure and attitude, a woman every fan recognized instantly. But as bright as her star once shone, the spotlight eventually faded. Once she left the wrestling world, her life began spiraling into chaos and scandal. Over the years, the beauty that once mesmerized millions became a distant memory. Sunny gained considerable weight, her features and figure changed drastically, and even more heartbreaking, the vibrant, confident spirit she once carried seemed to disappear. Instead of camera flashes and cheers, she found herself facing addiction, debt, and a long list of legal troubles. Starting in 2012, Sunny was arrested multiple times, at one point, 5 times in a single month, for various charges, including stalking her ex-boyfriend. In 2013, she served 114 days in jail for violating a restraining order. Sadly, that was only the beginning of a long, dark downfall. In 2022, Sunny was involved in a devastating car accident that killed a 75-year-old man while she was driving under the influence. A year later, she was sentenced to 17 years in prison for DUI manslaughter. From being one of WWE's most admired women to losing everything, fame, freedom, and ultimately herself, Sunny's story is a heartbreaking reminder of how quickly the bright lights of fame can fade. The same spotlight that once made her a legend became the fire that consumed her when she could no longer control it. 5. Jake, the Snake, Roberts. Jake, the Snake, Roberts remains one of the most unforgettable figures from WWE's golden era. Although he never captured a World Heavyweight Championship, largely because the spotlight of that time belonged to icons like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Randy Savage, and the Ultimate Warrior, Roberts still became a legend in his own right thanks to his haunting charisma and psychological mastery. His persona, always accompanied by a live snake, is burned into the memories of fans worldwide. But it wasn't just the reptile that made him stand out, it was his eerie promos, delivered in a low, raspy voice that sent chills down spines. Unlike the loud, over-the-top stars of his generation, Jake spoke softly but carried an aura of menace that felt real. His calm, sinister delivery came from a place of deep pain, a reflection of his troubled upbringing. That blend of emotional complexity and psychological intensity made him one of the greatest storytellers in WWE history, even without the chiseled physique of his peers. At his peak, Robert stood 6 feet 5 inches and weighed around 250 pounds. He wasn't the most muscular, but his presence commanded attention. Yet behind the curtain, he fought a much darker opponent, himself. Years of alcohol along with crippling depression pushed him into a downward spiral. His once imposing body deteriorated, his weight ballooned to nearly 380 pounds, and the physical toll of hundreds of matches left his joints shattered. His personal life crumbled as well, leading to broken relationships and deep isolation. The snake that once symbolized power and fear now served as a painful reminder of a glory long gone. Robert seemed to have lost everything: fame, health, and purpose. But when all hope seemed lost, help came from an unexpected place: Diamond Dallas Page, DDP. Page took Jake into his home in Atlanta, guiding him through rehabilitation and introducing him to DDP Yoga, a program that helped him rebuild both body and mind. Through discipline, support, and relentless determination, Jake slowly transformed. He regained his health, his confidence, and eventually, his dignity. In the end, Jake, the Snake, Roberts rose from the shadows of his own downfall to reclaim his place among wrestling's immortals. His induction into the WWE Hall of Fame wasn't just a career honor, it was the triumphant conclusion to one of the most powerful redemption stories in wrestling history. 6. Scott Hall. Much like Jake, the Snake, Roberts, Scott Hall, the man once known to millions as Razor Ramon, fell into darkness after the spotlight faded. He was one of the most iconic figures in both WWE and WCW, admired by peers and loved by fans around the world. Over more than 3 decades in the business, Hall never captured a world championship, yet his talent and influence far surpassed any title belt. His legendary ladder match against Shawn Michaels is often credited with ushering in a new era for WWE, setting the standard for every ladder match that followed. At his peak, Hall was the complete package: a muscular frame, effortless swagger, and that trademark bad guy charisma that made him unforgettable. But behind the cool confidence and stylish persona lay deep pain, crushing pressure, and dangerous temptations that came with fame. After retirement, Hall's life spiraled into addiction. Alcohol and drugs took hold of him, and by 2010, WWE had to step in to send him to rehab. Unfortunately, his condition didn't improve much. His once sculpted body deteriorated, his health declined sharply, and his mental state grew unstable. Old injuries combined with years of reckless living left him frail and broken. Things reached a breaking point in 2002 when Hall was released from WWE after showing up intoxicated backstage, a devastating blow that effectively ended his career. It seemed like his story would end in tragedy, but in 2013, salvation arrived in the form of Diamond Dallas Page. DDP opened his home to Hall, helping him train, recover, and face his demons head-on. With Page's unwavering support and the love of fans, many of whom donated money for Hall's hip surgery, he slowly began to rebuild himself. He regained his confidence, his smile, and, most importantly, his will to live. Although Scott Hall passed away in 2022, his final years told a different story, one of redemption and resilience. He may have lost his battle with time, but he won the most important fight of all, reclaiming his peace, dignity, and the respect of an entire generation that never stopped believing in the bad guy. 7. Triple H. At the height of his career, Triple H was the very definition of what a professional wrestler should be. With his rock-solid physique, perfectly proportioned build, and commanding confidence, the Game embodied power and dominance in WWE. Every time his iconic theme song "Time to Play the Game" hit, fans knew they were about to witness a warrior emerge from the spotlight, cold, composed, and utterly formidable. Triple H wasn't just a multiple-time world champion. He was the living symbol of ambition, discipline, and authority within the wrestling world. But time is an opponent no one can defeat. After stepping away from active competition to focus on his executive role in WWE, Triple H's appearance began to change. He shed much of the massive muscle mass that once defined him, partly to reduce stress on his heart and protect his health after years of brutal physical strain. His body is leaner now, no longer carved like stone, yet it still radiates strength and calm assurance, the kind that comes from a man who has seen and conquered it all. The passage of time is also visible on his face. The silver hair, the beard streaked with gray, and the deep lines etched by years of battle all tell a story. They've transformed him from the proud, unbreakable game into something even more profound, a leader who's endured triumph and pain alike. Following a serious heart condition in 2021, Triple H officially announced his retirement from in-ring competition, closing the curtain on one of wrestling's greatest eras. Though his body may no longer reflect the imposing warrior he once was, Triple H continues to command respect every time he appears. His calm authority, piercing gaze, and unshakable presence still carry the aura of the King of Kings. The muscles may have softened, but the essence of a legend, the man who helped shape an entire generation of wrestlers, remains as powerful as ever. 8. Ahmed Johnson. In the mid-1990s, Ahmed Johnson was seen as one of WWE's brightest hopes for the future. Vince McMahon himself had high expectations for him, believing Johnson could become the company's next breakout star. With his impressive height, powerful build, and commanding presence, Johnson stood out the moment he stepped into the ring. When he appeared beside top names like Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels, his sheer size made even those legends seem smaller, a testament to his incredible physique. Inside the ring, Ahmed Johnson unleashed explosive power with every move. His offense was a mix of speed, strength, and raw energy that few could match, making fans gasp at his intensity. However, his downfall came from a lack of refinement. His in-ring technique was rough, and mistakes often cost him dearly. Despite WWE's heavy push and clear belief in his potential, Johnson struggled to maintain momentum. His career peak arrived in 1996, when he defeated Goldust to become the first African-American Intercontinental Champion in WWE history, a groundbreaking moment that promised a bright future. But fate had other plans. Shortly after his historic win, Johnson suffered a severe kidney injury that forced him to take time off during the height of his success. When he finally returned, recurring injuries continued to plague him, sidelining him from major events, including the highly anticipated In Your House, Canadian Stampede. By 1999, after years of physical setbacks and backstage tension, WWE decided to part ways with him. Johnson went on to wrestle for smaller promotions but never managed to recapture the same magic. Eventually, he retired from professional wrestling in 2003. Today, the once sculpted powerhouse that amazed fans is only a memory. Ahmed Johnson has gained significant weight, a visible reminder of time and lost opportunity. He remains one of wrestling's great what-ifs, a man who had the size, charisma, and potential to be a megastar, but was ultimately undone by injuries and misfortune. For many longtime WWE fans, Ahmed Johnson will always be remembered as the giant who had everything, except the luck to stay on top. 9. Scott Steiner. WWE Hall of Famer Scott Steiner is a name forever linked with one of the most remarkable careers in professional wrestling, a journey that spanned more than 3 decades. He competed for nearly every major wrestling promotion in the world and collected countless championships along the way. Together with his brother Rick, the Steiner brothers became one of the greatest tag teams in wrestling history. But Scott didn't stop there. When he transitioned to singles competition in WCW, he quickly made a name for himself and reached the pinnacle by capturing the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, a victory that cemented Big Papa Pump as an unforgettable force in wrestling lore. At his peak, Scott Steiner was regarded as one of the most physically impressive athletes the industry had ever seen. His massive frame, nearly perfect muscle symmetry, and fierce, intimidating presence made him the embodiment of raw power. As he reinvented himself for his solo run, he completely overhauled his image, trading his trademark black mullet for platinum blonde hair, growing a goatee, and adopting his signature chainmail headpiece. But what truly shocked fans was his staggering physical transformation, an explosion of muscle mass and almost zero body fat. That new look catapulted him into superstardom, making him one of WCW's most dominant and recognizable figures. Yet, time spares no one. After leaving WWE in 2004, Scott gradually lost the imposing physique that once defined him. When he reappeared in 2022, fans couldn't help but notice the changes. The smaller muscles, the softer frame, and the unmistakable signs of age etched into his once fierce face. Still, his trademark confidence and fiery spirit remained untouched. Today, Scott Steiner may no longer have the superhuman build that made him a legend, but to wrestling fans, he will forever be Big Papa Pump, a symbol of strength, attitude, and pride. His legacy lives on as a reminder of an era when muscle, charisma, and intensity ruled the squared circle. 10. Road Dogg. Unlike many of his WWE peers, Road Dogg was never known for a chiseled physique or massive muscles. What truly made him stand out was his charisma, his humor, crowd connection, and natural showmanship. Throughout a career spanning over 2 decades, he cemented his legacy as a key member of the legendary faction D-Generation X, DX, sharing the spotlight with icons like Triple H and Billy Gunn. Though his run with DX wasn't particularly long, Road Dogg's partnership with Billy Gunn as the New Age Outlaws turned him into one of WWE's most memorable performers. With his smooth-talking promos, infectious confidence, and trademark catchphrases, he could ignite any crowd the moment he grabbed a microphone. He wasn't the biggest or the strongest, but he didn't need to be. Road Dogg was pure entertainment, the heartbeat of every match he was part of. After retiring from active competition, his life took a more relaxed turn. No longer bound by the demands of maintaining a wrestler's physique, Road Dogg embraced a comfortable lifestyle. When he appeared at fan conventions or WWE events, his fuller frame and slower movement surprised some, yet his humor, warmth, and optimism remained unchanged. The same charm that once lit up arenas still defined him, just in a different way. In his podcast, Oh, You Didn't Know, Road Dogg has opened up about the toll wrestling took on his body. Lingering back and knee injuries, aches from countless bumps, and even a health scare that once landed him in the hospital with suspected heart issues. Despite those challenges, his spirit never wavered. He continued to serve WWE behind the scenes, mentoring younger talent and helping shape the next generation of superstars. Today, even without the lean frame of his in-ring days, Road Dogg remains a symbol of joy, resilience, and passion for the business. To fans, he's more than just a former wrestler. He's the voice of the Outlaws, a beloved personality whose humor and energy still bring life to every stage he steps on. 11. Vladimir Kozlov. Unlike many former WWE superstars, Vladimir Kozlov took a completely different path after retirement. The farther he moved from the ring, the more impressive his physique became. During his wrestling career, Kozlov experienced all the highs and lows of being a WWE performer, from being introduced as a dominant new force to eventually becoming a comedic side character. When he first debuted, Kozlov made an immediate impact. With his towering build, intimidating strength, and no-nonsense fighting style, he tore through opponents one after another. His peak moment came in November 2008, when he achieved the nearly impossible, defeating The Undertaker cleanly, something only a handful of wrestlers have ever done. That victory skyrocketed his reputation and even earned him a shot at the WWE Championship, leading many to believe he was destined for superstardom. But that momentum didn't last. Once his undefeated streak ended, Kozlov's aura of invincibility began to fade. WWE soon shifted his character in a new direction, pairing him with Santino Marella in a comedic tag team. The move made Kozlov more likable and entertaining, but it also stripped away the fearsome presence that once defined him. By late 2011, Kozlov parted ways with WWE, but instead of fading into obscurity, he embarked on a remarkable transformation. He transitioned into acting, producing, and stunt work, carving out a new career in Hollywood. Yet what shocked fans most wasn't his career change, but his physical evolution. Gone was the bulky, somewhat rigid frame from his wrestling days. In its place stood a lean, sculpted, and powerful physique worthy of an action movie star. Today, Vladimir Kozlov stands as proof that discipline and perseverance can completely reshape a person, not just physically, but mentally. From a ring giant to a Hollywood powerhouse, he has shown that even after the spotlight fades, true determination can build an even stronger version of oneself. 12. Lex Luger. Lex Luger, once known as the Total Package, was the embodiment of perfection in professional wrestling, a symbol of strength, beauty, and pride. During his prime in the WWF, he was portrayed as the narcissist, a man obsessed with his own reflection, flexing and admiring his sculpted body before every match. And in truth, Luger didn't just play the role, he lived it. After Hulk Hogan's departure, WWE positioned Luger as America's hero, the patriotic savior who stood for honor and justice. Draped in the American flag, he entered arenas to roaring applause, becoming a national icon for millions of fans. But that spotlight faded quickly. Once the cheers died down and the ring lights dimmed, Lex Luger began losing everything: his fame, his health, and the body that had once defined him. After retiring in 2007, his life descended into turmoil. Years of substance abuse, combined with a devastating spinal infarction that left him temporarily paralyzed from the neck down, ravaged his once mighty frame. In one brutally honest interview, Luger admitted, "If it could be inhaled, injected, or swallowed, I tried it. That was my life back then. I drank, I used, too much of everything." The man who once weighed over 275 pounds, 124 kilograms, and was admired for his chiseled physique dwindled to under 185 pounds, 85 kilograms, frail and gaunt. As he once reflected with painful honesty, "I used to be one of the strongest men on the planet. Now, I can't even lift a 1-pound dumbbell." Yet in tragedy, Luger found redemption. He slowly regained some mobility, learned to walk again with the help of a cane, and discovered a renewed sense of purpose through faith and compassion. Since 2006, he has lived as a devoted Christian, dedicating his time to inspiring others and sharing his story as a powerful warning against the pitfalls of fame and excess. Today, Lex Luger may no longer possess the imposing physique that once made him the total package, but he stands stronger than ever, not through muscle, but through perseverance, humility, and the unbreakable spirit of a man who rose from darkness to find light again. 13. Goldust. Goldust, a name the wrestling world will never forget. As the son of the legendary Dusty Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes carved out one of the most unique chapters in WWE history through his iconic persona, Goldust, a symbol of boldness, creativity, and mystery. From the moment he first stepped into the ring, Goldust stunned audiences with a look and energy unlike anything seen before. Shimmering blonde wig, gold-painted face, glittering bodysuit, and provocative, theatrical gestures. He didn't just wrestle, he performed, transforming every appearance into a piece of surreal performance art. Goldust didn't rely on brute strength or devastating moves to stand out. It was his eccentricity, charisma, and impeccable timing that made him unforgettable. Fans might have booed, laughed, or felt uncomfortable, but one thing was certain, they couldn't take their eyes off him. Goldust was the embodiment of courage, daring to be different in a world obsessed with conformity. But like all things under the spotlight, the glow eventually faded. After parting ways with WWE in 2003, Dustin traveled across various promotions, including TNA, where he experimented with a darker persona called Black Rain, a tortured character torn between good and evil. While the idea showed promise, it never captured the same magic that Goldust once did. At the same time, his physical condition began to decline, affected by years of wear and an undisciplined lifestyle. As time went on, Dustin gained significant weight. His movements slowed, his stamina waned, and the once graceful, flamboyant Goldust seemed lost to memory. Yet instead of surrendering to decline, Dustin decided to fight back. With incredible determination, he overhauled his diet, committed to intense training, and shed more than 60 pounds. When he made his WWE return in 2013, fans were in awe. Goldust was back, revitalized, stronger, and prouder than ever. From eccentric outcast to symbol of resilience, Goldust's journey proved one timeless truth. The body may change, the spotlight may dim, but passion and willpower, when they burn within the heart, can keep a legend shining forever. 14. Brian Knobbs. Brian Knobbs, one half of the legendary tag team the Nasty Boys, perfectly embodied the wild, chaotic energy that their name represented. With graffiti-covered gear, a rebellious mohawk, and an in-your-face attitude, Knobbs was the living definition of nasty. Fans remember their infamous trademark move, shoving an opponent's face into a sweaty armpit, a disgusting yet unforgettable act that captured their gritty, unapologetic style. Though he never had the sculpted physique of many wrestlers, Brian Knobbs earned respect for his toughness and raw brawling power. Alongside Jerry Saggs, he made the Nasty Boys one of wrestling's most iconic duos, conquering both WCW and WWE. Together, they captured 3 WCW Tag Team Championships and 1 WWE Tag Team title, relying not on flash or finesse, but on pure attitude and Street Fighter swagger that intimidated even the toughest rivals. However, the years after retirement brought drastic changes. While he still sported his signature mohawk, the once muscular enforcer looked almost unrecognizable. Knobbs had gained significant weight, his once menacing appearance giving way to a softer, almost comical image, a far cry from the intimidating bruiser fans remembered. Life outside the spotlight proved to be harsh. Years of partying, drinking, and neglect took a toll on his health. His weight ballooned, and he faced multiple hospitalizations, battling chronic pain and depression. But when it seemed like he might not recover, Knobs made a crucial decision: to change. He quit drinking, restructured his lifestyle, and committed himself to getting healthier, both physically and mentally. From a notorious brawler feared across locker rooms to a man fighting the battles of age and consequence, Brian Knobs' journey is a powerful reminder that wrestling glory may fade, but true strength lies in perseverance. His story shows that even when the cheers are gone, the heart of a fighter never truly stops beating. 15. Chris Hero. Chris Hero, known to WWE fans as Cassius Ohno, is one of the most gifted wrestlers of his generation, yet often underrated simply because of his physique. With a creative in-ring style and world-class technical ability, he earned the admiration of wrestling purists everywhere. However, his WWE journey was far from easy, as attention often centered not on his skill, but on his constantly changing body shape. When Hero first joined WWE, he had a tall, lean frame, less muscular than the company's typical standard. Despite his undeniable technical talent, he couldn't fully convince management and was released early in his tenure. Undeterred, Hero returned to the independent circuit, where he truly thrived and built a stellar reputation. But during this period, his weight began to rise noticeably, giving him a very different look from his early days. Upon returning to WWE under the name Cassius Ohno in NXT, Hero brought a hard-hitting, powerful style that perfectly suited his new form. Every spinning elbow and strike he delivered carried incredible impact, drawing cheers and awe from fans. Even with a heavier build, his speed, reflexes, and ring IQ remained razor-sharp, qualities few wrestlers could match. Yet in WWE, a company where sculpted physiques are often considered the gold standard, Chris Hero never quite fit the mold. Despite immense talent and fan support, he rarely received the main event push he deserved. To Vince McMahon, physical appearance often played a decisive role in determining a wrestler's future, and that unspoken bias worked against Hero's chances at superstardom. Still, Chris Hero remains deeply respected among peers and fans alike. He stands as proof that true wrestling excellence isn't defined by muscle mass, but by passion, precision, and perseverance. Though his body has evolved with time, the spirit of Cassius Ohno, Chris Hero, continues to represent what every real fighter should be: relentless, resilient, and unapologetically authentic. And those were the WWE superstars who once had the kind of physiques everyone dreamed of, but time has changed them in ways few could have imagined. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of the exciting stories coming up next from Wrestling Sphere.